Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to our latest Facebook Live. Today, I'm going to demo my Honeycomb Wrap Bracelet. I have... people are popping in. Yay, cool. So, honeycombs are one of my favorite two-hole beads. And I'm sure everyone knows after you do a project or two, you have all these spare, honeycomb beads laying around. And it's like, what do you do with them? So I decided to try this little stash-busting bracelet with honeycombs. You can use as many colors or as few colors as you want. This one I actually put the some honeycomb jewels in it just for a little bit of extra sparkle. And my first one just has all regular honeycombs. But I've got like 4 different colors of blue and green. I think people who know me know that I love blue and green. I wear a lot of it. I bead with a lot of it. And it's just a fun bracelet, and it's really fast. Look how that just wraps right up. Wraps your wrist right up there. And I get to use up my honeycomb stash. And with a lot of our projects, both Leslie Rogalski and myself, you don't need a lot of beads. So I believe this one has about 24 honeycombs in it, and 2 different colors of size 11s. So before we get started, the pattern will be in the I Love Beads section on the BeadSmith website, BeadSmith/I Love Beads. And as always, you have your instructions. And this guy is so simple. 1 page of illustrations. Hi, Bianca. And you're all done, because as I say, it's another one of my rinse and repeat projects. And the only thing I want to say before we get started is, if you're using honeycomb beads or the honeycomb jewels, remember they have a faceted side and a flat side. So when you're putting them in, you want to make sure that all the front sides are facing up. And also there's a few that have a back and a front. And so you just want to make sure that when you're putting them in, everything's facing the correct way. This one I believe is Crystal Capri. So you have the coppery color on one side, and then you have the back, which is clear with the channels. So you don't want that to be your front. So that's the only other thing, aside from I did find out in this project, you really might have to cull your beads, especially when you're putting the embellishment around the side. So you want things to lay smoothly. So like I said, not a lot of stuff. So I have my three colors of honeycombs right here. This is my accent size 11. This is my main size 11. And of course I got to stick some symbols in. So I'm using the Calava silky bead ending, because it just gives you a nice point to work your herringbone ladder stitch off. So, and then of course you get that nice little piece of metal to attach your clasp to. And so then clasp of choice. This one I have a toggle, but I've used small metallics. And on these samples, I also use what they call the ball and socket. So it just pops in. But, you know, if someone needs a magnet or whatever, you can use any clasp you want. You just have to include that in your measurement for your bracelet. So my beaded measurement on this bracelet is a little like 14 1/8 of an inch, which wraps around my wrist twice with a little bit of give once I put the jump rings and my clasp on. So just a couple of things to be aware of. And see, I have my clasp and I have a couple of jump rings. And I'm using 6-pound Fireline. I have my snips. I love my snips. I also have my my thread sapper, because this project does take a lot of thread, so you're going to have to end and add thread once or twice through the process. And then, of course, I have my favorite micro pliers to open and close my jump rings and attach my clasp. So, without further ado, let's get started. So you take your comfortable length of Fireline and you add a stop bead with a little bit of a tail. You don't need a lot, because it's going to, you're just going to tie it off and secure it later. So you don't have to have an awfully long tail, and start with a comfortable length of thread. So to start with herringbone, you know you have to always make your ladder stitch, which is the base for any herringbone. And I'm going to make my ladder stitch on either side of the calava ending. So you're going to pick up 2 11s. Sew through the calava. You're just going straight across. The hole goes straight across. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11s. Leslie, you're not muted. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11s. You're not muted, Leslie. It's not me here. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. And you pick up 2 more 11s. And then you're going to sew back through everything to lock it in. And you're going to have your ladder stitch for starting your herringbone. I have a funny story about herringbone. So one of the first beading classes I took was a herringbone class with a fairly well-known beader who will remain nameless. And it was a horrible class. She was a horrible teacher. And I went to meet a friend of mine who was an avid beader, and I told her I was never going to do seed beading ever again. Ever again. And so I actually made a liar out of myself. So there you go. So now I actually like herringbone, and don't know what my difficulty was, except maybe I was a new beader and I had a bad teacher. So the first 2 rows of your herringbone are called the ladder stitch. And you have, oh man, can we see that? You have 2 stacks or columns. And from this point on, to do your herringbone, you know that you always pick up 2 beads. And you're going to sew down through 1 bead on 1 column. And then you sew up through 2 beads on the other column. So this locks your beads into your herringbone. And it's called herringbone because it looks like the herringbone pattern in fabric. And it's a little wobbly. Don't worry about it, because when you come to put your side beads on, it will everything will straighten out. So we have 5 rows of herringbone, so I have to put 2 more on. So now I have 4 rows. And I'm catching my thread around the outside of my piece. Okay, there we go. And then one more set. Pick up 2. And I always think to myself, down 1, up 2. That way you never get lost on what you're doing. So in this bracelet, each beaded section is going to have 5 rows of herringbone, and then a honeycomb. So to add the honeycombs, after you've checked all of your holes to make sure that none of your holes are clogged, you're going to pick up a honeycomb, lay it over 111, pick up 2 honeycombs, sorry, 2 11s. Sew through the second hole of the honeycomb into the 11 on 1 stack, back up through the 11 of the other stack in the honeycomb, and the next 11. So that's sort of like you're still doing your 1 down, 2 up. You just have a honeycomb in the middle. And so that is basically what you do the whole time. So you're going to add 4 more rows of herringbone on either side of your honeycomb. Come on. There we go. And to your desired length. And like I said, I have 24 honeycombs, which means I have 26 sections of beaded herringbone, and that gave me a 14 1/8 length bracelet. And this is like pretty mindless. Another one of my rinse and repeat projects. So you could sit in front of the TV while you're binge watching something and put your honeycombs in a pattern, put your honeycombs in completely randomly in color, whichever you choose. Oop, I went through the wrong bead. Come here, baby. Come on, baby. There we go. I started talking and I messed myself up. That's okay. And I messed myself up again. Do. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, let's get that knot out of there. Okay, this way. There we go. So you go down 1. There we go. And up 2. And I'm not going to bore everybody to death by doing this 24 different times. So we're going to act like we're on a cooking show. Ta-da! So here is my version with several honeycombs on it. And this is what it's going to look like. So, of course, when you get to the end of your bracelet, you need to add the other ending on. So your last set should be 4 rows of herringbone, and then the 5th row is where you add your other ending. So you're going to pick up an 11 and your ending, right? Sew through your ending and pick up another 11 and then attach it like you would just be doing another row of herringbone. So down through 1, and your ending's going to sit in between your beads, and then up through 2 on the other column to lock it in. There we go. And then I would just repeat that thread path just for security. I always say thread is cheap, your time is not. And you don't want your jewelry to come apart on you. So if you had finished your bracelet and you don't have enough thread, I would suggest tying off your thread before you go to add your embellishment. Oop. So yeah, so you would tie off your old thread and start a new thread. And then sew through one whole column of your herringbone. So you'll be exiting right before a honeycomb. And to add the side, you're going to have to test. My pattern says two main color, 1 contrast, and 2 main color. If you do that and you feel that there's too much thread showing on the outside of your honeycomb, I would then switch to 3 main, 1 contrast, 3 main. But we're gonna act like this is gonna work. So you sew down through the honeycomb and back up through all the beads you just added on the side. Oh, that's going to work. Cool. And pull it a little snug. So you have outlined your honeycomb bead. And then you're going to sew through the next stack of 11s. To be in a position to add your next embellishment. So 2 main, 1 contrast, 2 main, and you're going to sew down through the honeycomb towards yourself because you're making a loop around the outside of your honeycomb, and then sew through the 5 beads that you picked up. Or if you end up with 7 beads, whichever one works. Pull it snug so it sets around your honeycomb, and then through your next stack of the herringbone. And that is basically it. You would do that all the way down one side of your bracelet. And when you get to the top column, of course, you would sew through the ending and out to the other column, and then you're going to add your embellishment on the other side of your bracelet the same way. It's like I said, it's a rinse and repeat. It's very repetitive. It's a great stash buster. I think I'm going to really enjoy wearing it. It's casual, but not overly casual. There we go. So I'm at the other end of my bracelet. And as you see, you have your embellishments on one side. So I would sew through my calava ending and down the second column of honeycombs. And start adding my embellishment on the other side of the bracelet. And you could probably do this with any 2-hole bead. There's, you could probably do this with silkies. Oh my gosh, what else do we have? We have so many, we have so many 2-hole beads. I'm like blanking on 2-hole beads. Well, a 2-hole bead that has a substantial side. I don't think that that the super duos would do very well, but maybe gem duos would be nice. Silkies, Teelas are going to be a lot flatter, but I think it would, who doesn't like a Tela wrap bracelet? I have all different types of Tela wrap bracelets. Hi, Janet. So that would be your honeycomb wrap. As you see, I just went down one side and up the other side. And anybody who was worried about getting sticking their foot in the well of doing herringbone, I think this would be like a fast, easy project for you. And I think it's kind of fast because you're putting 2 beads on at one time, which I absolutely love. Anything that I can bead fast. So if you have done all those steps, you now have a honeycomb wrap bracelet. Fun, fast, stash buster. I mean, can I say anything else? I just don't know if I could say anything else about that. I love 2-hole beads too. So, that is my honeycomb wrap bracelet. And I actually have some time to give you guys a teaser. So, my upcoming project is going to be another stash buster. I'm calling them Daring Dagger earrings. So you have super duos, a dagger, or anything else you want to hang off the bottom, and another lovely and versatile symbol ending. This one is called Rosis 5 because it's got 5 little legs in it. So in 2 weeks, I hope people will come and join me for this new Facebook Live project. And as always, signing off, Leslie Pope, creative designer for the BeadSmith. And you can find all these lovely beads, findings, and other materials at your favorite bead reseller. And until the next time, everybody stay safe, stay warm, keep beading. We love you, and we love beads. Take care, everybody. Bye.